What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Johnny5 Live here, and today we will be going over a Kill to Collect review. And in this review we will be covering the game type, the gameplay, the characters, the collectibles, the multiplayer, the price versus the value, and the final verdict. So stay tuned for this review. Alright, let's jump into the game type. The game type is a multiplayer roguelike co-op game. The game name itself is Kill to Collect, but it's not really that at all. You're not really collecting anything in this game, as everything has a very limited use. Most roguelike games have somewhat of a random level progression, whereas this game is very linear with only randomized rooms. While the game may be very misleading, it's a really fun co-op action combat game. So let's talk about the gameplay. The difficulty, and the progression. The game is actually surprisingly very difficult. While it may seem like a button mashing fun time, it's really more about your ability to use micro with precision and timing. And it also plays onto your ability to work cooperatively with your friends. That is a huge factor. So really fun, actually surprisingly fun, considering how simple the core mechanics of the game are. Playing this game solo could be very boring, and the more people you have, the more fun it becomes. So while it's a fun game with the micro precision and timing, the AI is going to be attracted to the one player, which is going to kind of mess with the game's core mechanics a bit. And as soon as you start layering in more players, it changes the whole scenario of how the enemies react. The more players, the better this game actually excels. So let's talk about the characters, how they play and how they feel. Every character has a quick attack, a heavy attack, a special ability, and then the ability to use items. And then they have a dodge as well. So it's basically like 5 core mechanics. Basically you use those 5 core mechanics plus a few items to make your way through the game. You got Riot Ray and Shocking Shelly are probably the best ones. Kate Katana could use a better special ability, and Ivan Iron Fist just needs to be able to blink through enemies to be viable at all. Now, one thing I would say with all these characters is I wish that the developers pushed them a little bit further. So I feel like they could have pushed that a little bit further and given everybody an additional ability. However, the game felt great the way, with the very limited tool set that you had, the game still felt great. So let's talk about the collectibles now. Collectibles, there was weapons, special pickups, and accessory pickups. So the weapons had very little impact on the gameplay. They had a low amount of charges, they weren't very interesting, and they weren't very helpful. For example, they have a gun that you get right off the bat in the tutorial, and I've picked up this gun numerous times in the game, and it has 4 charges, you shoot, and it doesn't even kill the enemy. It's very weak, and it takes too much micro, too much time, and not enough payoff. And a lot of the items felt like that. We did find some cool ones, where like a disc that bounces around the room and hits enemies. That one seemed helpful. And then there was one where it was like a link gun. You could link it to your friend, and then you would walk around the room, and anything in that chain would get electrified and damaged. And if you both linked each other up and walked through a crowd of enemies, you could literally sweep through a room. And we found that one to be pretty useful, pretty fun. However, again, not enough charges to make it really notably worth it. So then there was also special pickups. The special pickups were just basically your basic abilities. So you had an infinite dodge. It's not very useful, because you're so used to how you use your dodge, you get enough out of what you have already. Then you have the ability to activate your special. However, you have to wait 10 seconds. You use it, and then a timer starts. And once that timer hits 0, now you can use your special ability. That's not very helpful at all, because if you're gonna need your special, you're gonna need it now. So again, it was a kind of a blunder. There was the boost speed. You pop it and you immediately start running fast. Again, it was one of those situations where you learned how to get out of that situation 100 times. So why would you need to pop a speed boost to get out of that situation? Then there's the double damage. You boost your damage for 20 seconds, you're doing a lot of damage. We only really found those useful on the boss fights, as you just want to mow through that boss as fast as possible, and you pop the double damage and take them out. So it just didn't really feel like the special pickups were very useful, neither with the weapons. Then there was the accessory pickups, and I'd have to say these were probably the most useful. So you had things like proximity mines that you'd lay on the ground, packs of enemies would walk into them and kaboom, blow up. You had bullet shields where you put a dome over the characters. You had personal shields. I never found those useful, because it's like you're protected for 5 seconds or something. It just kind of screws you up. And then you have med packs, which are by far the best, but they only heal 1 health bar. So a lot of the times when you're trying to scramble around to pick up a med pack, you get hit and it's already lost its value. Let's talk about the upgrades. There's the upgrades in the game, in the roguelike fashion upgrades, it's food stamps. And whenever you hit a checkpoint in this game, you get to spend your food stamps on upgrades. Now, whenever you go to the vending machine, you get to pick from 1 of 2 random options. Now, these random options can be anything from reduces the cost of buying health. Then you can upgrade your health bar by 1, which is very useful. Then there's, increases your special ability, which is only useful for some characters. Increases the amount of shots you can do with an item. So instead of 4 bullets with the gun, you can have 6 or 8 or 10 if you've upgraded it 3 times, and all sorts of different things. The problem with this is it's 2 random abilities each time. I'd have to say, depending on your playstyle and depending on your character, that you might not like any of the options presented to you, or you might not like any of the options for your current character or build. A lot of the times we go up to the food vendor and you're like, I guess I'll take that, I guess I'll take this. And I feel like this was the game's biggest downfall, is if they gave you all the food options to choose from on one list, then you would look at them all and go, how am I going to build my character this level, this play session, this turn? And then I could go with Riot Ray, all special ability, or I could make him super tanky, keep getting pickups and working on my pickups. Then there's certain areas in the game, like I was saying, the item pickups were lackluster, but they're not that bad if you fully upgrade them. But if you start upgrading them and the next time you get to a food vendor and you can't upgrade them anymore, then you've wasted your initial points and they still suck anyways. So I feel like if you're going to use items in the game, you need the food stamp upgrades to complement those items, and you're going to have to go, all or nothing on them. The fact that they're throwing you only 2 choices randomly, you can't actually make a good build in the game. And if they presented to you all the options, you'd really be able to sink your teeth in and really get a really fun build, and that's going to add more replayability to the game and also allow you to work with your teammates cooperatively a lot better. So let's talk about the multiplayer now. The matchmaking is bad. We tried it, we couldn't get into a game, no one was joining our game, we had a hard time getting more public players in to play with us, and it just didn't happen. And this is really disappointing, because this game single player is a bit of a drag. You really need 2 to 4 players to play this game effectively, and the more players you have, the more fun it's going to be. That leads me into the price versus value. So the game was 25% off on launch, which makes it $16 Canadian and regularly priced at $22 Canadian. I feel the price is a bit steep for the amount of content given, especially as the game requires more players to be fun. A big point to talk about here is it's best played with 3 to 4 players and doesn't even have a discounted 4-pack. So that's a big blunder. So I feel this game would be much more successful if it was priced in the range of around $10 with a 4-pack deal at $30. I would have easily bought this 4-pack for $30, given out 4 copies to my friends, and then I would have gotten a lot more than the 5 hours that I got with this game, and I would have gotten more value, more replayability, and it would have called me to play this game again. So let's go into the final verdict. Let me explain how I give my final verdicts. The final verdict is a price and value versus the objectives and goals of the game. So let's break down Kill to Collect's value versus objective. The game is priced at $22. I got roughly 4 hours of gameplay, with possibly more if I can find some more people to play with, or if they fix the matchmaking. But currently, we're looking at $5.50 of gameplay per hour. So in today's gaming, that value isn't particularly great. The game's objective was to be simple, pick up, play, have an action-packed fun experience with your friends. The game was easy to pick up and play, and was also very challenging, exciting, and enjoyable with a friend. My big problem with the game is it's hard to matchmake more players, so we lost value from bad matchmaking, and it's hard to convince other people to buy the game based off its current value. Now let's talk about the game's objective. The game's objective was to make a roguelike game with killing and collecting. The name of the game, after all, is Kill to Collect. The game is very misleading in its advertisement. The collecting is very minimal. The roguelike features are almost non-existent. The advertisement for this game almost feels like they're telling you what you wanted to hear, just so you would buy the game. When I read everything about the game, I was like, that's all the stuff that I want. And then I buy it, all of that stuff wasn't really in the game. I would have been very upset if the game wasn't actually fun. This game actually isn't any of the things that it advertises itself as. It's not a collecting game. It's not really a roguelike game. It's just an action co-op game from a top-down angle. And, you know, that's not as easy to sell. So they amped it up with all these special words and stuff, but none of that stuff's really in there. So all that being said, I really enjoyed the game's core mechanics, the subtle abilities, the tactics, the micro precision required to pass certain enemy types. It's all really a lot of fun, but it certainly isn't what it's being said to be. So it's not really a kill to collect or build up roguelike game. So all of that stuff is very misleading and they did not hit their objective. However, it's still a fun action co-op multiplayer game. So based off of its value versus its objective, my final score for this game is a 7 out of 10. It's above average. It's certainly not great. It's just doing enough. Like I said, it's about $5.50 per hour of gameplay in today's age. Some people might not agree with that. Now this game could easily get a 9 out of 10 if they just dropped the price a bit, improved the matchmaking, made it so you can customize your builds better so that you could have more replayability and try different builds out with different characters and different ways to play the game. So if I could purposely make my own build, I would immediately double my replayability. But right now it's sitting at a 7 out of 10 for me. That's my final verdict. It was a fun game, but I still feel like it was disappointing that we couldn't get 4 players in, and I would have had a lot more fun with it, and I wish there were more things to bring me back for replayability in terms of builds. So that's my opinion on Kill to Collect, guys. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you guys in the next video. Visiting those changes in the DLC packs as they're released and give my opinion on them moving forward. But as of right now, I've given you guys my final thoughts, and all in all, I have to sum this game up with my final score. It's going to be maybe some crazy white hair, some pink and blue hair, you know, some kind of cool new hairstyle that you could get at the barber shop. That would have been appreciated. Like, oh, look at this cool, I don't know, shaved on